to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kirusho here. Now, whenever we last left off, Deku, he had just gotten into Class 1B, and they've done the quirk apprehension test. So, let's pick up there. Everyone is going out to eat, and in fact, they're trying to think about it for a minute. They're thinking that they should go to this place, and this place. Eventually they settle down at a burger joint. All of them at least chilling out and having a bit of fun. Now, with that being said, they would all be just relaxing and talking more and more. People actually ask Midoriya about his quirk, and the conversation somewhat turned to him. Midoriya just saying that his quirk is telekinesis, and well, it's actually pretty strong. Though lifting up the robots and trying to do that can take a lot out of him. In fact, it requires a lot of training just to maintain it for a couple seconds. Now, this is whenever one of the Class 1B chicks. Now, this is whenever one of the girls from Class 1B, this girl, Reiko, she would just say that sounds similar to her quirk. Deku just looking at her. Not really well noticing her at first. Her just stating that her quirk is kinda like that, and in fact, well, it's poltergeist. She can throw any object similar to her body weight and or lower than it at someone. And in fact, she can control it around them. Deku actually a bit impressed by it, thinking that quirk could be more useful than she thinks. Deku just asking her more and more questions about it, as she's a bit surprised. Telling Midoriya that she can do these things with it, and well, it's not all that dissimilar to his. So it's actually pretty interesting. Now, eventually everyone would have headed home for the day, along with Midoriya. As soon as he leaves everyone and starts getting closer to his neighborhood, he would have had his fake smile leave, and his little sinister grin pop back up as he would walk into the bar, surprising quite a lot of other people. You have Toga sitting there, you have Dobby, Mr. Compress, and Muscular. They are all just talking. Now, Muscular's talking about how if the kid's gonna go to Class 1A or go to the UA, doesn't that make him a villain? Deku just saying not really. In fact, he's thinking that he has found some good quirks, along with someone who might be easier to get on his side. Now, with that being said, he would meet up with his crew, and all of them are talking more and more and more. Deku thinking that this will at least be a lot easier. So, what to do next? As they would get things planned out, exactly how things are going to go. And Deku, he would have heard back from Mineta, from the doctor. Mineta is going through the process of becoming a Nomu, and getting stronger. Now, along with that, Midoriya, he is getting ready for school today, as he actually just told Gigantomachia that today will be easy, so to just stay here, and to, in fact, wait for the villain's word for what's happening at the USJ. This will be something amazing. Deku leaving for the day, meeting up with his friends in Class 1B. we have skipped to roughly about a week later with the heroes versus villains. Now, I'm not really sure if they would get the same buildings or the same areas, so for the sake of it, let's say they do. Cementos would have had to repair the entire building after Bakugo's violent outburst in Class 1A, and things would be, well, a bit weird. Deku is paired up with this poltergeist girl, Reiko, and the two are in charge of getting the bomb from two people, Monoma and Kendo. So, this is going to be quite odd. Along with that, he's actually asking her if she has any special abilities that can help them out here. Or basically just stating no. Now, Deku's standard outfit is a sweater vest, so, well, actually a business casual outfit, like the regular villain Deku if you've seen him. Now, Deku, he is at least ready, and taking this a bit more seriously. Now, he would have ran in, along with Reiko, the two getting ready. They would have gone together, Deku basically having to carry her in. As soon as that happens, he would have thrown his hands out, and immediately closed them, and throw them to the right. As you have Kendo smash into Monoma, and Monoma just someone getting sent flying. Him trying to get back up and at least use Kendo's quirk. Trying to run in and attack Deku. Deku just holding on his hand once again and smashing these two together. Basically doing that anytime the two get back up. As Reiko would just walk over and get the bomb. Now, with that being said, I do believe that that would be the end of that. And well, the two would have actually congratulated each other on teamwork. Flat King being a little impressed. So, along with that, let us cut to roughly 1 to 2 weeks later. Deku has actually found himself getting a little closer to his classmates, since he barely ever needs to lie. In fact, things have been getting a little easier. But he must stay on guard, because of this whole thing. The incident happening at his other school a couple years ago, that sort of turned him off to having friends. But his allies, they do sometimes feel like friends. Along with Ayama. Ayama is someone he can actually trust. So he does need to at least stay careful. Then again, he does have at least 2 people in this class on his side. So the day of the USJ attack, that would be easy. Deku actually reaching into his bag and trying to pull. Deku goes to look for a pencil in his bag. And he wouldn't really find one. And he goes to hold out his arm to go create one. Since his hand is still in his bag, he'll just create it and then pretend like he was just looking through it a bit more. Or it was at least in an extra pocket. As soon as he would create the pencil, someone would hold something out to him. Him being confused for a minute. Someone said to pass this to him. Deku was still a bit odd about it, bringing his hand out of his bag and grabbing it. Asking who is lending him this. Someone just saying that they don't know, so they just started passing it around. As the girl would look back at her test. Deku just looking down at his hand, and looking at his pencil. Whenever he looks at it, he does actually check its info. Item, wood, and, well, lead, or whatever, lead. Wood and then pencil lead. Property of this person. Deku looking around, and seeing the person who handed it to him. At least being a bit happy and thankful about it. Going back to write on his test. Now, the day of the USJ attack. The class of 1B, they aren't going to the USJ. In fact, things are a bit odd today. Deku is sitting in his class, and he's at least thinking about it a bit more. The USJ attack is going to happen roughly around lunch, so he does need to talk to someone before then. Then again, he's seen all these people's quirks, so it would be a good time to take them around, well, roughly then. Otherwise, things are going to be getting to get annoying. Now, with that being said, Deku is sitting down at lunch, and actually eating by himself. People and classmates from 1B coming over to see him, telling him that he's in their class, and he really shouldn't be doing that. Even though, well, there's Kendo and Momo with him, he still does need to, well, get to know other people. It can't be that good to be alone all the time. Deku somewhat smirking and saying that actually it isn't all that bad, as he does at least begin to read off their quirks. This will be good. Him just beginning to think about it. He begins to take the quirks of his classmates from around him. He takes the guy. Hang on. Now, he would take a couple quirks. He takes Scales, Solid Air. This guy's quirk, Black. I don't understand why that's the name of his quirk. He then takes Mushroom, Softening, Weld, Lizard Tail Cut, and, well, then he would turn, looking directly at this girl with the poltergeist quirk, thinking, he doesn't know a lot about poltergeist, so if her quirk has any chance of hurting him or messing up his body, it might just be a safer bet to brainwash her and bring her with him. Now, with that being said, this is whenever Deku would just stand up. Kendo and Monoma doing the same. Deku getting a phone call as he runs off. Kendo and Monoma following. Deku answering and saying that they're here and that he has the quirks. As a portal would open. Deku and them stepping in. As there is a bit of a weird thing. Deku is thinking he forgot to go grab her, so he'll actually do that real quick. Him running back down the hallway. As soon as he gets to the end of it, he would have been met by his classmates. Them being a bit confused and weirded out by what's going on. Seeing the portal directly behind him. As they ask Midori exactly what is this? And what happened? Deku just saying that, well, seems like I've blown my cover. Them confused. Deku holding his hand out and immediately blasting the guy with the hardening quirk with a large blast of fire. Them all being in shock, as Tetsu would come running in. Confused at what's going on. He barely had enough time to harden his skin, and now he's running directly at Deku. Him coming in to sock Midoriya straight in the face. Deku hardening to the point of diamond. Tetsu cracking his hand as soon as he throws the punch. Deku countering with his own, sending him flying upwards and through the cafeteria. Many different people confused. Deku just holding out his hand and grabbing the girl with the poltergeist quirk, and immediately just pulling her towards him. As soon as he does so, he would have immediately looked at her and brainwashed her. As soon as that happens, she would have just stopped talking or doing anything entirely. Deku then just saying that it was nice to meet all of them, as he begins to step backwards, saying but he believes that he is a hero to go kill. Stepping through the portal. and heading straight for the USJ. Quite a lot of people confused. They would go to help Tetsu, but as soon as this guy with a softening quirk tries to use it to get the rubble off of him, it would not have worked. Now, with that being said, Deku has just gained a couple more quirks. Along with that, he needs to think about them real quick. As he is falling, as soon as he falls in, he would smash into the ground and immediately stand up. Looking around. Now, let us cut to roughly a couple hours earlier, or roughly 30 to 40 minutes earlier, in the USJ. They have all just, been talking. They're all on the bus discussing their quirks and exactly what's going on with them. Things are normal and seem to be fine. Except for a couple of the Class 1A students do seem to be off. And, they do seem to be a bit sad. As soon as everyone does walk into the USJ, however, things would have been a bit different. We are now 30 minutes behind. And everyone is excited, along with some people actually staying back. Directly at the exit, as the doors would close. And they're just waiting for the signal now. Everyone being on guard. Now, people aren't really paying attention to this group. In fact, they're just thinking that they're all talking. And doing whatever they want to. Until the portal opens. Todoroki, Jiro, Momo, Uraka, Mina, Kirishima, Asui, and Ayama. They are the UA traders. And they are going to have a little bit of fun with this. As soon as the portal opens and Aizawa announces villain, this is whenever he would have been shot directly in the side, by a laser. Everyone turning around to see Ayama just holding up his hand. Todoroki sparking his left side with fire, and blasting out a large wave of ice. Everyone being confused and actually in shock. Jumping backwards. Uraka doing one thing, bringing her hand up and pulling it into a fist. Increasing the gravity around everyone as they go smashing into the ground. Them all, in shock. Shinsho is still, waiting, and kind of confused at what to do now. This isn't what's supposed to happen. What's going on? No one talking. As Mina walks over to him, and stares him directly in the face, before giving him a little smirk, and then giving him a large uppercut, sending him flying into the ground. Now, this is whenever Kirigiri, he would have watched as Class 1A stands up, and would begin to try and fight back. As soon as that happens, this is whenever a portal would open, and everyone would begin to get lower down, into the ground. Them all being shocked, and taken away. As you also have Shigaraki, telling the League of Villains that the ones who just shot Aizawa, or Eraserhead as they call him, they are our allies, so make sure not to kill them. Along with that, my little brother will be here soon. So, I'm gonna give him a call in a minute and see where he's at. Otherwise, things are just gonna be boring without him. I do believe that we have an All Might to kill. Wouldn't want to waste all the fun now, would we? Now, with that being said, this means that Ida was not able to get out of the USJ. So, something is clearly wrong, and they won't know it for quite a while. Now, with that, the villains will begin to get into position and start hunting down the Class 1A. That is not villains. as you have Momo, Uraka, and Kirishima all walk up to Shigaraki, all talking with him. Him still being a bit surprised that that actually worked, and that his brother's little plan was even able to stay solid for so long. The boy really is resilient. Now, with that being said, let us cut to a couple minutes later. Deku has showed up, and he's actually stood up, looking around, trying to think about what is a good thing to do. So, where is everyone? Now, with that being said, the villains, they've been hunting down Class 1A. They have been able to get some of the students, but the other ones, they are still somewhere. So, Deku would begin to levitate up into the air and look around, as he would see someone. Not sure who it is, but hey, they seem to be a bit important. Him beginning to take him out, as you have Sero getting murdered. Now, you also have a Dupla Arms guy. He is trying to figure things out, and, well, his situation is not any better. He's been injured by villains, and in fact, he's still running around, at least trying to find his friends. As you have another problem. You have Tokoyami. Tokoyami, he was a bit mad, and in fact, he does feel quite betrayed about all this. So, clearly, something is happening with him and his quirk. It is going haywire here, along with Deku actually encountering the Hero 13. Whenever he is actually up in the air, he would have felt his spider sense go off. 13 basically holding her gloves open over Midoriya, trying to at least suck him in or take him down, since these villains aren't afraid of killing. She thinks that they've already killed Aizawa, and they've corrupted students of UA, so that is even worse. Now, Deku would have done one thing, letting go of his telekinesis and immediately just flying forwards. 13 surprised. Deku just giving her a weird look before she sparks on fire, her suit beginning to burn. Deku immediately just turning to titanium and smashing into her body, slamming her into the ground as he rips open her suit, and stares her directly in the face, bringing his hand up and smashing it down on her face, taking her quirk, thinking that that was at least a little bit of fun. So, let's see. Deku just looking around, and floating up off the ground with air jets, allowing himself to use clockwork, seeing Tokoyami. Tokoyami is clearly in trouble. So, that quirk is going to consume him. Well, that should be perfectly fine. Now, eventually, Deku would have met up with Shigaraki, and the two would have been talking. Shigaraki at least a bit annoyed that it took this long just to get here. Deku explained that he had a few quirks to get on the way. Besides, one of them I think he'll actually enjoy. Now, with that being said, All Might would have arrived. After the incident at, well, school, with apparently Shigaraki taking away quirks from students, he said that he'll be back. He has a hero to kill. That didn't really mean anything. But then they tried to get into contact with people from Class 1A, and they were unresponsive. So, they thought the two might have been connected. Sad to say that I was right. Now, All Might would get ready. Shigaraki saying to Kirigiri before Deku cuts him off, saying to summon the Nomu. Always wanted to make that joke. Anyways, Kirigiri would summon the Nomu. All Might actually being surprised to see this hulking monstrosity. And Deku just telling him that he should be okay. Before he jumps onto the Nomu's back. And tells it to fight All Might. Now, as soon as that happens, the Nomu would go rushing in. And Deku would just be riding on it. All Might's getting ready, bringing his hands up and rushing in. Him immediately getting into a grab with him with the Nomu. Deku jumping off of it and immediately grabbing an All Might, trying to grab him by the face. All Might confused as to who this is. Before he sees that Deku is trying to make physical contact, so he's got to have some weird quirk. Deku just telling him, no. In fact, you know who I am, All Might. All Might just grabbing him out of the air and throwing him away. Before he's confused by that statement. Asking him exactly what does he mean. All Might sucker punching Nomu in the gut, finding out that he has a, absorption quirk. So that's gonna be bad. Now, with that being said, Deku would have gotten back up, saying that, All Might, you know me. In fact, you've met me before when I was younger. You told me that, as Deku would immediately get shocked with a large amount of power in his back. And he would just turn around, his body covered in electricity, looking to see Kaminari, who has fried his brain. He is with Invisible Girl. And, he kinda just fucked up. He thought that that would work, so he's now just standing there like a bibbling idiot. And Deku is looking at these two, walking directly over. All Might going to get in Midoriya's way before Deku does one thing. As soon as All Might gets in his way and goes to grab Midoriya, Deku would have grabbed him out of the air, and immediately lit him on fire with pyrokinesis, then sending him flying across the USJ, telling the Nomu to don't let that happen again. Kill the #1 hero. Deku walking up straight to Kaminari, and just saying that he does want to know how this one quirk works. What about you? Your quirk seems to be weird. Would you ever consider becoming a villain? Her just taken aback and looking at Deku, asking him exactly what is he talking about. She wants to be a hero. Deku's saying that they are heroes, dear. In fact, as Deku would have just disappeared. Deku being right behind her, and actually grabbing her, saying that you see me as the villain, I see myself as the hero. Besides, Deku disappearing once again, being on her left this time, saying that if he wants to, or she wants to, Deku appearing on her right side this time, I can take away that little quirk of yours, and give you something special, something new. Her still confused. Midoriya just keeps disappearing and reappearing in different places. What is this? Now, she would have finally had that thought register in her head. He can take away and give quirks. Are you serious? Yes. You sound surprised. You have the #1 hero battling against a creation, or a monster. And you have my brother's quirk. Decay. Destroy everything you touch. My quirk isn't all that special. It's the same as my father's. All Might at least picking up on that. Before Deku just turned on clockwork, and looked directly at All Might. And began by sending a flurry of punches in All Might's side, though a side with a lot of pain in it. As he also does harden his hands into claws, and stab them directly in All Might's leg, as he injects him full of fear. Then, walking over to Toru, picking her up, grabbing Kaminari, taking 2 to 3 steps to the right, and then setting them back down, before resuming time. All Might going to grab Midoriya by grabbing his hands and closing them towards himself. As he feels a sharp pain and begins to scream, being really confused. Turning around to see the Nomu, him immediately bringing his hands up as he grabs its hands. And things begin to take an odd turn. The Nomu's face changing. All Might hearing Nana Shimura's voice, and being very confused. Somewhat just throwing the Nomu away as he then looks around, seeing the world somewhat changing, and, well, warping. Staring directly at Midoriya. Midoriya just saying that she should be quite aware that this quirk he has, it is something I vowed not to use. Although I've gotten used to it now. This is called fear, All Might. Do you understand it? Deku just walking forwards, saying that fear is something no one can escape. All Might rushing directly at Midoriya. Deku turning on his quirk, along with adrenaline to give himself that extra time. Taking 5 steps to his left as he unpauses. All Might running past him, confused. Deku then is saying that fear is something no one can escape, as he hardens to Diamond. Looking directly at All Might trying to rush in once again. And Deku pausing time, right whenever All Might is directly in front of him. Deku looking up to see him, as he does one thing, hardening both of his hands and stabbing them directly into All Might, beginning to let loose as much fear as possible. Deku's somewhat feeling the effects himself, and beginning to start laugh, as reality begins to warp around him too. Deku then stepping back from All Might, and looking directly at the Nomu. Unpausing time, or at least slowing himself down. All Might actually falling to the ground this time and screaming over and over and over again. As he looks up to see Midoriya, as all for one. As he hears in a very distorted voice that, All Might, you tried to save me when I was 4, but look what happened to me now. I just became the villain of your story, All Might. Isn't that odd, or at least funny? Don't you think? Deku bending down, and bringing his hand up to All Might's head, grabbing him by a chunk of his hair. All Might trying to get back up, as Yuraka walks up and increases gravity on him. All Might being confused whenever he sees her. And Deku does one thing, creating a blade in his hand, holding it directly to All Might's throat, saying that, when I was 4 years old, my name was still Izuku Midoriya. All Might's eyes widening, realizing that this boy is the one who has the same quirk as All for One. He isn't a successor. Now, listen to me, All Might. Your quirk. Who is your successor? I already know about them. Even then, it won't matter. Because I can kill you now. As Deku brings the blade closer, All Might's jumping upwards and jumping backwards. And there's 20 times gravity, trying to at least stay focused. The Nomu coming in and immediately punching in All Might's back. As it hurts, All Might actually feeling this pain as he coughs up quite a bit of blood. Toru is still horrified. Deku just turning back to look at her, saying that, again, I can take your quirk. And you can come with us. As Deku holds out his hand, saying that it will at least help you survive. Otherwise, you will just die like everyone else. Her actually a bit hesitant, not sure what to do, and scared, as she looks down at Kaminari. He's already, exhausted his quirk, and hers can't do anything. She's just gonna be hunted down. As she holds out her hand, grabbing Midoriya's and allowing him to take her quirk. her skin immediately turning visible, as she somewhat gets blinded by the darkness, realizing that those are her eyelids. Now, with that being said, Deku would then just tell Uraka to take her away, as he walks over to the Nomu, and tells it to hold out its hand over to Deku. Deku immediately just taking its quirks, and turning back around to All Might, as Deku somewhat grows a bit in muscle, and Deku begins to start laughing. All Might watching Deku, his face distort more, and get worse, along with Deku staring directly at All Might. His face is melted and screaming. Perfect. Deku lunging forwards. All Might's hearing this voice in his head, as he stands back up and meets Deku halfway with a punch. Deku at least holding his ground against All Might, telling All Might that that's all he wants. He wants him to die. You failed me once, and now you can't fail anyone else. Deku immediately grabbing All Might and beginning to overpower him, hardening his skin to diamond, and actually doing so, right as All Might threw a kick directly into him. Deku using body augmentation to have a hand come out of his gut, and form into a spike, stabbing it directly in All Might's leg. All Might beginning to scream even more. Deku picking All Might up, and throwing him over his shoulder, directly into the center of the USJ, as he begins to walk down the stairs. This is easy. This could have gone a lot harder, All Might. But, well, the symbol of peace. So busy protecting people, you can't even protect yourself. Deku looking directly at All Might, as he holds his hands up, and tells All Might that that is enough. So, are you done trying to hold back against me? Or am I gonna have to pump you full of more fear? Deku is holding his hand up, and burning All Might with pyrokinesis, All Might is slapping his hands together to disperse the fire, and at least trying to stay on his feet, with a broken leg. Now, Deku would look directly at All Might as he rushes forwards, Deku slowing time to a minimum, and actually grabbing onto All Might, using body augmentation to at least stretch out his limbs and allow himself to harden into a harness around him, then turning his body into more and more spikes. All Might's basically wearing a vest out of thorns, as whenever time resumes he begins to scream, and start punching at his chest, as Deku begins to pump more and more fear into him. All Might going completely delusional and haywire, looking around to see the villains and the heroes, and he's not sure what to do. He goes rushing in to fight the villains, and he begins to beat into them, as Deku gets off of All Might, looking at the heroes who have arrived. Now, Vlad King is quite surprised, along with Principal Nezu, as Midnight would begin to use her gas. As soon as she begins to disperse it, Deku would have brought his hand up and immediately take her quirk, telling her that that was very good, but he has another idea. What happens whenever I mix 3 quirks together to create a new one? Let's find out. Now, Vlad King is quite in shock. Midoriya is a villain, or Shigaraki is a villain. Now, Deku, he would have just looked back at All Might, watching him tear apart the remaining students from Class 1A, saying that All Might will be busy right now. So, I have an idea. Deku just holding out his hands. Professor Snipe going to take the shots. Deku just immediately lighting him on fire, and him going to the ground, as Deku disperses his own gas, as this guy with the clone quirk would rush forwards, going to at least make a clone and get Deku, President Mike beginning to scream, and trying to at least build some cover, going on to the offensive. Principal Nezu going to use his quirk, intelligence, to try and find a way to figure out the situation. It's already bad enough, and All Might is beginning to tear through villains, ripping them apart as if they were just nothing, like they were tissue paper. Now, Shigaraki and Karagiri have gotten out of there, along with the UA members of the League, as I'll call them. Now, Deku is the only one left there, and he is just staring down the heroes, telling them that this is it, isn't it? So, as he grabs ectoplasm out of the air and holds him by his neck, turning off his quirk, beginning to crush him as he takes it, asking him exactly who's next. Now, as soon as he says that, he would have just laughed, knowing that they can't beat him. Principal Nezu being taken away by one of the members of this bunch. Now, as soon as that happens, Deku would have just brought his hands up once again, saying that now that that's all out of the way, there is one monster you heroes don't like to see. One monster no one likes to see. Deku mixing together the mushroom quirk he took from the girl from 1B, Midnight's quirk, and Fear. This being something that will devastate quite a lot of people. Deku holding his breath, and watching as the teachers begin to lose control. They begin to spark with fear, and go crazy, beginning to fight and actually try and punch each other, as they begin to puke out this black substance. The mushroom quirk Deku took from the girl from 1B is very dangerous. It can create spores along your skin to grow mushrooms. If you breathe it in, however, that's a very different story. You have spores in your lungs, sparking them with fear, so they're going to be in a constant state of hysteria. Now, he would turn back to look at All Might, walking down the staircase, and getting ready. Beginning to think that it's at least time that he tries out these quirks from 1B. Doing one thing. He would fall backwards into a shadow, and immediately reappear, right under All Might. Now, after using this cutting quirk, Deku would have just been holding All Might by his hair. All Might still being a little hysterical, trying to at least talk and say a cohesive sentence. Before Deku just brings his hand up and stabs it into his head, giving All Might the antidote. All Might confused at what's going on, looking around, and seeing everything. Deku just telling All Might that this is what happens. Along with that, I do believe me and you need to have a conversation. Who is your successor? All Might just staring at this boy, saying that his mother would not have approved of this. Deku somewhat just laughing, saying that his mother is with his father right now. All Might confused. Your father died years ago, young man. No, he didn't. In fact, you've battled against my father, the day he came to take me home. All Might confused, before realizing now exactly why this boy has a similar quirk to All for One. He's his son. All Might trying to get questions answered, before Deku does one thing. He puts All Might somewhat back together, saying that this is not the end, before creating a battle axe in his arm and bringing it up, telling All Might that if he has any last words, to say it now, as he swings through All Might's head with a mighty slice, taking it off, walking over and picking it up, and staring at it. Enough force, quite the clean slice. Now, with that being said, he would have told Karagiri to open up another portal before he does it himself, or at least tries to get out of here with his own quirks. Now, Karagiri would have opened a portal, Midoriya walking through and holding up his trophy, surprising and shocking the rest of the members of the league, as everyone suddenly began to chant his name. And All For One would have been smiling. That quirk is no more. Even then, he doesn't believe All Might has chosen his successor yet. Now, with that being said, this was a dark episode, and I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next parts.